Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Liam Britton. You're probably wondering who the hell I am. And I've been lucky enough to be guest host for the very first podcast from my main man, Robert McVie. Now, you may not know who he is either. You might know him, actually, but you may not know him. But we're going to be talking to, I've been invited to guest host this podcast today to kind of really get into the juicy bits of Robert's story. And so he can talk about his journey, because it's such a powerful journey and there's so many lessons, especially if you're a business owner, especially in the fitness industry as well, which you probably are if you're listening to this right now. And he's going to be sharing his journey today, and I'm going to do my very best to kind of pick out the juiciest bits of that story to kind of help you guys on your journey. So, Robert, thank you so much for letting me come and host the first ever podcast that you're doing. I really appreciate it, dude. How you doing?
My brother, I wouldn't have anybody else do it. You were my go-to guy.
That's so cool, man. Honestly, I'm so pumped to be here, so pumped to go through your story. And yeah, I'm looking forward, because obviously I'm going to be interviewed on the next one. So we're kind of going to be swapping over places in the next one. But we're going to concentrate on you first, obviously. So, Robert, why don't you just kind of, let's imagine people listening to this podcast right now have no idea who you are, right? So kind of just let them know kind of who you are, what you do, and we can go from there.
Cool, man, cool. So we've actually just transitioned across. So when I say we, I mean me and my wife, Louise, who you'll see in the podcast quite a few times. We've actually just transitioned across from owning a gym for quite a few years to now helping coaches, specifically health coaches, personal trainers online. We've also run successful online programs, and we're showing other people how to do exactly the same, specifically health coaches and personal trainers. So basically our clients we tend to attract a lot of gym owners who they're either looking to get out of their gym because they're feeling tied down, or they're looking to add an extra arm to their fitness business. So we tend to attract a lot of people like that. So that's typically who most of our clients are. So essentially what we're doing is we're showing them that you can either build that other arm to your business, or you can use it as a go-to. So if you don't want to be tied down to this facility anymore, like what we didn't, 5 years of running a gym takes it out of you. I know you were a studio owner as well. I know you know what that feels like. So and when you grow a family, it's just at that case, that stage where you're like, okay, let's do something different. Let's still create an impact, build an empire, but do it on your own terms. So that's essentially what we show our clients how to do now, how to build an empire, but do it on their own terms.
Nice. I'm actually interviewing Robert right now from my camper van, right? So this is my freedom.
Love it.
And I used to be a gym owner myself. As Robert, I've had 2 gyms, and I've recently got rid of one, actually, so I could start living the way that I wanted to. And when I bought this camper van, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it in the background. But yeah, Robert's right. It's about living on your terms. And it's probably why you're listening to this podcast, because you want to live on your terms, right? But Robert, I want to go back to the very beginning, right? Because I really want to understand you, how you got this position where you finally got to that point where you're like, right, I'm closing the gym doors and I'm going to open up and I'm going to start helping coaches build their online business. And I know you was helping other gym owners with their gyms and their studios and stuff. So when did you first start in the industry, Robert? When did this all begin for you? Just give us a bit of background.
Wow. We've all got an interesting story, haven't we? I'm going to take it all the way back to when I was in primary 3, third year at primary school. The reason why I still think this was a catalyst for why I got into the fitness industry. My primary 3 teacher, Mrs. Whip was her name. How cool's that name, Mrs. Whip? She, we'd done a long distance running thing around the school, and I came in first. Now, I was never talented at anything at school, but then I came in first all of a sudden. And this teacher, Mrs. Whip, was like, Robert, you're really good at that. And I can remember thinking, am I good at this? So we'd done it weekly. We'd done it once per week. And it became a bit of a goal for me to always be first all the time. I thought this was quite cool. So that was like my first venture into the fitness thing. Wasn't talented at sports, loved football, was never talented at it, just loved it. But was talented at fitness. So that transcended into when I went to college, left school in 4th year, pretty much no qualifications. Come from a rough neighbourhood. I was just a jack lad and joined college. Studied for a diploma in like our level 2s that we get now. It's kind of along the same lines as that. And then joined the forces after that. So become a physical training instructor. And that's kind of sort of where it all started from. So right back at primary 3 in the running days.
Cool.
Yeah,
and what was the next steps for you? So I think you was in the military, weren't you, at some point?
Yeah. So I joined after I'd left college, the first year. I joined the forces, joined as an engineer, which was weird for a Scottish guy joining an English regiment. It's not really the done thing. Like the Scottish guys all joined the Scottish regiments, and I decided to join an English one, which was strange to the family because all my family were in the forces and they were all joining the Scottish regiments. I joined this English regiment. 3 years doing that, or 2 years doing that, and then transferred as a physical training instructor. And that's really where I started to realize that, wow, here's this thing, fitness and health. And they were like two different things. And like what we eat, how we move. And of course, I was training soldiers at the time, right? So like we were essentially preparing these guys for war and women for war. But it just fascinated me how much you could change the human body physically through exercise and by what you were eating. And the more I done it, each day passed, I just got more and more involved with it. This is just incredible. So took it further and further and further, left the forces, when 2001, way back in 2001, and pretty much held down every job in the industry after that. I was a bit of a fitness industry slut from like, you know, like the leisure attendants and fitness instructors in your local authority gym to the big box gyms, sales manager, health club manager, fitness managers, everything in between. So that's kind of learned my apprenticeship, if you like, going through all that stuff. And it was good. But I realized something. It was cool, but it wasn't on my own terms, which was the big thing for me. So I'll tell you a little story about a PT client I had. It was back in, I want to say 2006 or 2007. So I had this client, Doogie, his name was. He was a self-made millionaire, brilliant guy, arrogant as you like, but like we got on really well because he had a good sense of humor. And he'd made his money in property and like automotive industry and everything else. He had lots of businesses. Every day he used to come in for his PT session, and he used to come in straight from home when he felt like it, whatever time he wanted. He would do his session. He would go down, have a shower, get his suit on, have his like literally stinking of aftershave, and then jump into his fancy car, which was a new car every week, and off he went. And I can remember thinking to myself, I wasn't fascinated by this guy that he was a millionaire. I was fascinated by the level of freedom that he had. Do you know that he could do everything on his own terms? And I was just looking at him and thinking, dude, how the fuck have you done this? So like I literally just, I don't know if stalking's the right word, but yeah, it probably is. I pretty much stalked him, befriended him. And I was just like, dude, you need to teach me like how you've done this. I have no interest in houses or cars, but I have an interest in how you've built this freedom. So I want to know how you've done it. Long story short, we became really good friends. And he was like, listen, you can build somebody else's dream with the security, or you can go with a little bit of insecurity, but build your own dreams. And I was like, I don't fucking need security. Like, I'm young. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to live forever. Hey, you're 20s, you're going to live forever. Like, so yeah, I'll go do it. So I was all chips in. And that was kind of sort of where the whole start of, dare I say, entrepreneurship started, and running my own first business. And yeah, if I hadn't met that guy, like, I don't know where I would be. A gym manager somewhere in a gym being bored.
What do you think was that? Because I find with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they've got that kind of real spark to want to go and build something on their own, even though they know probably deep down it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard work, but it's going to enable me to have this kind of freedom and kind of live on my terms. But I always find they like entrepreneurs and business owners, they have something different about them.
Yeah.
Right. So I know you met this guy, but what was it inside that was really driving you to do that? What was showing up in your life where you're like, Was it that you were just thinking there's more to life than this, or was it something else? I don't know. You tell me.
There's two sides to this, and it's so interesting. It's something I've questioned myself on so many times over the years. I'm sure you have as well. The first part of it was where it was all based on my ego, I think, to start with. Like, I hated being told what to do. It's why I left the army. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted all this freedom, and it was all attached to ego. Then it wasn't until, I want to say, I don't know, 10 plus years later, my wife Louise became a therapist. And we were sitting down one night and she said to me, I can't remember what we were talking about, but it came up. And she said, do you want to know why you do what you do? And I was like, I would love to. Like, I'm intrigued. Tell me. Thinking she wasn't going to tell me something I didn't already know. And it brought it back. And this is probably something that you can relate to as well, where she brought it right back to when my dad died when I was 12. So my dad hung himself. He committed suicide. Like, he was just in a bad place back then. He was like 35. I was 12 at the time. So it was a difficult time in my life. And I didn't really start to grieve for him until I was like maybe sort of in my late 20s, early 30s. And I always had this point to prove, you know? And she'd said to me, Louise had said to me, she was like, you couldn't save your dad because you were too young. Like, you wished you could save him, but you couldn't save him because you were too young. Nobody could save him. So what you're doing now is you're in this industry where you're helping people, but what you're really doing is you're saving people, because it's the only way you know how, because there's a part of you that feels guilty that you couldn't save them, and you need to let go.
Wow.
You need to let go of it. And like, honestly, I never said to her at the time, but I could have honestly burst out crying, because it was such a big, it was this huge epiphany. It was like a massive light bulb that just went, fuck, this is why. But I hadn't realized it for over a decade, for so many years. And it made me question so many things in my life. I was like, is this what I really want to do? Am I doing it for the right reasons? Shall I let go of all? What shall I do? You know? And I've done a lot of soul searching, a lot of questioning, and like, do I want to work in a gym? Do I not want to work in a gym? Is it online? Is it that part of the world? This part of the world? So many questions. And it took me a while to get to where I wanted to be with it. But essentially what I come up with was, I want to spend more time with my family. Like, I was never prepared. So like, our little boy now is 8. I was never prepared for how much time I would want to spend with him. Like, he's the coolest dude ever. Like, I would just literally spend all day with him if I could. He's such a laugh. But I wasn't prepared for that. And it caught me by surprise. And I was like, shit, here I've got this business, which is like we've built up to 1,654 clients. Like, in 5 years, it's doing tens of thousands a month. What do I do? Because here's Robert, the business owner, who's making all the money, which is fucking cool. But here's Robert, the dad over here, that doesn't feel fulfilled. So what? And the person, what does he do? And it was trying to marry them both together. And what we came up with was, we need to leave this. We need to leave it. And that's where I find myself today.
I can so relate to what you just said. And like, I just want to scoot back to that conversation that you had with Louise, because that sounds to me like it was a real turning point in your life. It was like almost the spiritual awakening for you. And what it sounds like, it sounds like that was a domino that was needed to be knocked down to knock down all the rest. Yep. Right. And I think it just kind of opened up, and I could totally relate to this. And obviously I know I've got my story to come in the next episode, but you know, I was in that place where my actions were from a place of pain.
Yeah.
Right. And trying to put something in the past right that I couldn't, that it was impossible. I didn't know I was doing it consciously, but subconsciously I was doing it. And I think you was in that the same place where all your actions are driven to prove something about yourself that you're feeling guilty or shameful for, right? And I think that's what's happened for you. I think what Louise kind of did for you was allow you to know, hey, I couldn't have done anything, right? It's not my fault, basically. It's not my fault, right? I couldn't have done any more than I did, right? And she allowed you to let go of that and lift off all of that heavy weight that you'd been carrying for so long.
It was, right? Dude, and it was a huge release. Like, I don't know if in fact, I know I haven't told you this. When I came to one of you, because anybody doesn't know, you used to be one of my amazing mentors, which is why we became so good friends. one of your seminars in 2015, which was, where was it held again?
It was in Hertfordshire, I remember.
What a beautiful place it was as well. I can still remember it. I can remember you done
It was down hall, was it called? Down Hall or something like that. Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
I remember. It was like a old like Hertfordshire country estate kind of hotel. It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember you done like it was like a meditation thing or something you'd done. And we would all close our eyes and we'd be thinking of stuff and whatever, and you'd taken us through it. I don't know if you can remember this, but I can remember I was in floods of tears. And it was related right back to what we just talked about. I then drove all the way back to Scotland in the rented car in floods of tears, literally the whole way home. The whole way home. 2015 that happened, towards the end of 2015. The end of 2015 was when we launched our gym. I was like, fuck this. I'm sick of playing small. And like I say, we built up to 1,600 clients. So I don't think I'd ever told you that story, but like, I never cried as much that weekend as what I had probably my whole life. It was such a, I still didn't know at that point where, why I was doing what I was doing until I had that conversation with Louise, but it opened the doors up, if you like, it was an awakening.
Yeah, that meditation you went through is kind of like my signature forgiveness meditation.
Yeah.
That I've actually like I've taken it around the world and spoken at different events and stuff, and yeah, it gets everybody.
Yeah, I got me, man.
It really does. It does get everybody. Is it like, because we'll come to talk about forgiveness in the next episode when I tell my story, but forgiveness, and I think it's such a massive part of your journey as well. Like being able to forgive yourself for your past, and all the shame and pain and resentment and all this stuff that you got towards yourself, and all these stories that you've created about yourself. It can get very, very heavy, right? And when we're not forgiving ourselves for certain things, and we're kind of holding on to them, and we're trying to prove that we're not that person.
Yeah.
In our current actions, it can get even more painful, right? And then we try and like for my, I don't know if this was you, but for me, I had this big hole inside of me, and I was trying to fill it with money and business and success. And I think you were doing a similar thing.
Dude, do you want to know what I've done? Do you want to know what I've done?
Go on.
From that point of 2015, like I said, I built this gym to 1,600 plus clients. I built a 1,600 client, 60, 70K a month problem. Now, that might fly past a lot of people's head because they might think, well, what the fuck? Like a 60, 70K a month's not a problem. It is if it's not where you want to be. I was trying to outwork the problems that were inside me. Like the problems weren't superficial. They weren't external. They were internal. But I thought that I'll just outwork it because this was my ego. And I can remember one of my first mentors said to me, when I said to him, I want to open a gym. And he said, Robert, son, you can either, you can fill your ego or you can fill your bank account. I didn't know at the time I was doing both. And he was basically saying, don't open a gym. I'm not recommending anybody shouldn't, but it wasn't right for me. At the time, it was great because it brought in lots of money, but I brought this 1,600 client problem with 60, 70K a month, but I was hating it. I was actually hating my life more. I had the nice holidays, I had the nice car, the nice lifestyle. Cool, it was fantastic. New clothes, everything else. I fucking hated it. It wasn't who I was. It wasn't congruent with who I was as a person. Which is just incredible because I think we all have this thing when we become personal trainers that we just want to help people, and then when we realize it doesn't pay us that much, now we need to make money from it. So we then get pulled away from helping people, and it needs to be about making money, and we try and bring them both together. So it's now about helping people and making money, but we forget about ourselves, and we almost become hypocrites, Like we're not training as much as we used to, and we're not looking after ourselves as much as we used to, but we're telling our clients to do it. And that's kind of where I was at.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think so many PTs, health coaches are the same. So it's just that realization of, what's going on inside. So yeah, it's a huge, that conversation with my wife was a huge light bulb moment for me. Massive.
Yeah. Very, very powerful indeed.
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. So you've had this kind of awakening, if you like. You realize that, hey, I don't have to prove anything to myself anymore. Finally, this is amazing. And then you started to connect with what you really wanted, i.e., I want to spend time with my family. That's what's important to me. Not trying to prove to myself, that I'm this person or that person, or I'm not to blame for the, I don't know, whatever it is that you're trying to prove, right? So tell us about the story of the day that you decided that you're closing the gym and dealing with 1,600 members, all the stuff that goes along with that, right? I can't even, I've only had small fitness studios, so it's been quite easy to kind of deal with them, right? We're only talking about 50 to 100 members, but the thought of 1,600, I'm like, oh my days, right? So I'm interested to hear that story and that kind of transition and having the balls to go and do it. Massive.
Man, seriously. I think some stages you get to a point where you're just like, I don't care what people think or what happens. I can remember it was a Monday night. I was about to go out and do a coaching session, 6 p.m. And a lot of coaches will be able to relate to this in terms of burnout. At this point, I was burnt out. This was 2019. So 4 years in to owning the gym. But I was like 22, 23 years in the industry, but I was 4 years into owning this big gym. I think we were about 1,000 members at the time. And it was 6 p.m. I was ready to go out and take the session. There's over 100 people out there. My other coaches are out there as well. So they're basically backing up what I'm doing, everything. But I was the main coach. And Louise comes in and I'm lying on the couch in the office. She's like, what are you doing? It's like 1 minute to 6. You need to be out there. I was like, I'm not fucking going. And she's like, what? And I was fine all day. All that day I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me, apparently. But it just hit me like a brick wall. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was burnt out. Do you know, I was just lying on the couch like the fetal position, like a little kid. I was just like, I'm not doing it. I wasn't crying, but I'm like, I'm not doing it. I was just so defiant. I'm not doing it. And she's like, what do you mean you're not doing it? Like, I'm fucking not going out there. But what about all the people? Fuck them. That was my attitude. Some of these people were friends, And I did care for these people, but I was like, fuck them. Like, they can do what they want. They can take the session themselves. I was so burnt out at that point where I'd built this monster because I was all about this ego and this success. And it became not even about the money anymore. It was just like, let's make it a big success. I've never shared this with anybody before, but I'd read a story where Duncan Bannatyne had bought out a gym in Norwich because they were a thorn in his side. So he basically bought out the gym so that he could have the monopoly. Now, I used to be the fitness manager at the local Bannatyne's gym in our town. And that was basically, I hadn't told anybody this story, but that was basically what I was trying to do. I was trying to build such a big business so our local Bannatyne's club has 3,500 members. We built ours up to 1,600 and I'm like, we're getting somewhere. When we get to 2,500, they might come calling and then I can just go do my thing. I'll be happy with that. That was the goal. I hadn't told anybody this. So it was all ego driven, nothing was about me. But yeah, I got to that point of just complete burnout. And long story short, I eventually started going back in, taking sessions and everything else. But we then started bringing in coaches and we built a bigger team and we had a sales team and we had a big, massive team. But it just wasn't fulfilling what I wanted in my life. From a business perspective, fantastic. For me, I was just like, this isn't me. It's not what I want to do anymore, Like, Robert, the toilet door's broken in the gym. Fuck the IKEA. Like, day one, like, I'd be like, okay, I'll get in there and I'll do it. I'll get the maintenance guy on it. 4th year in, I was like, whatever. I don't want to do it anymore. So, yeah, when we got to that point of, I don't want to say we were lucky, but we sold the gym, or we broke it up and sold it. Our goal was to sell our gym this year. In March, COVID-19 hit. And we were like, whoa, this is challenging. What do we do? So our goal, and so you got to understand that we had just over 1,600 clients, and all this equipment, like well over 100K worth of kit in this building, all the systems that we'd built over the years, it was going to go for a good price. We had people interested. 4 weeks into COVID-19, we lose 1,000 members. I was like, shit, what do we do? Now, we were making good money, so we were all right money-wise, but future, we were like, shit, what do we do? So me and Louise sat for a while, and we went backwards and forwards, and we've got the big pad and pen, like, what's all the different scenarios that we could come up with? So
Yeah.
what we done was we broke the business up. We created this whole coaching system where we ran group coaching, semi-private coaching, small group training, personal training, essential ladders, de-essential ladders, everything in between. And we managed to sell this system to another gym owner, and which was great, which was fortunate, on the basis that we no longer used it, which was fine. We had lost all our members, so we didn't have them as an asset anymore, which was a big part of our business. So we obviously lost a lot of revenue from that. But we made the decision to basically not open the gym back up when the whole COVID lockdown finished. So we still had a lot of clients at this point who were high-ticket clients, mid-ticket clients for gym and everything in between. So we made the decision not to open it. We sold all the gym, all the gym kit, and the coaching side of the business, and gave our landlord the news that would be us, because our lease was coming up for renewal anyway. And we were moving on, and we had a lot of clients like, oh, what about us? What are we going to do? And we actually started to get quite a bit of hate from our clients.
Sure.
And I'd learned this before. What I'd learned was that when you give somebody something,
hate in which way? Just give us an.
So when you
Sorry,
give,
I didn't mean to butt in.
No, it's cool. When you give somebody something, they're your friend. Some people. For some people, when you take it away from them, they're your enemy. And I learned this pretty quick. So these people who I thought were my friends and clients weren't actually my friends. You know, they were like, you can't take this gym away, you can't do this, you promised that, and everything else. You know, we were getting emails and text messages and like, why are you not opening back up? Nobody was owed any money. Like, you know, like their payments were stopped. So there was none of that rubbish going on, which was cool. But yeah, we just had a lot of hate. I can remember a guy saying to us when we when we gave the news, what do you mean you're not opening back up? You told us you were putting showers in. I was like, yeah, dude, the showers aren't going to happen. It's not going to happen. So yeah, it was a big move, but I was at that point where I think I was free of it. And this was post conversation with Louise. Do you know the whole spiritual awakening thing? This was post that conversation where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't care who I upset. I'll do it the best way possible, but we're moving on.
Yeah, for sure. So that was it. Just didn't open again after COVID, and that was that. Sold off the kit, split up the bits of business that you could kind of sell to that coach, and that was it. Cool.
Yeah. Well, we were building a business off the back of it as well, so we kind of had a get out clause, which was cool. So
So just talk about that, like your next step.
Yeah. So we were one of our clients at the time. He was a previous client rather, and he'd been coaching with another coach and how to build his gym, and he says, "Do you mind having a look at it? Because I think it's a load of shit." Now, I'm not here to badmouth anybody or do any of that because that's not my bag. It's not what I do. He's like, "I think it's a bag of shit, but can you have a look at it?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I had a look at it. I was like, "How much you pay for this, dude?" And he's like, 12,000. It's like 12,000 pennies, and he's like, "No, 12,000 pounds." I was like, "Wow!" It was so basic and so simple, and it wasn't working for him. And it wasn't the catalyst for me wanting to coach other coaches, but what it was like the final straw. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, where I was like, "Why is our industry so tainted with these people who?" What I seen an industry of amazing marketers. Their copywriting skills were fantastic. Their sales, like they were just geniuses on the front end. Their deliverables were awful. Like what they could 100%. Actually deliver the client was terrible. I never wanted to be a coach for coaches. Like I fell into it by accident. Do you know, I was looking at it and thinking, this is wrong. This is like, these people are being taken for a ride. And at the time it was, although we'd sold our business, we'd done really well, and we sold our coaching business for a decent sum as well. So I didn't jump into it for the money. I jumped into it because I wanted to try and change that. And as we know, it's such a big industry. You know, you can't do something single-handedly, and it's difficult. But we're on the way. So we started helping other gym owners, and we were our Ascension program from helping gym owners was going to be showing them how to build an online arm as well. So it was like the graduation program, if you like. And then they all got shut down because of COVID. So we're like, oh, what happens next? And we made the big brave decision, another one, 2 and 2 years, to stop coaching gym owners because it wasn't sort of in line with where I wanted to go. We'd been building successful online businesses, Louise with her binge eating program and my Boss Man Live program. So we decided to help other PTs how to grow their online business.
Can I just ask you a quick question? Do you think that you made the decision to stop helping gym owners to then go to help kind of fitness professionals go online because you were kind of, and this is where I can relate to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were kind of teaching studio owners, gym owners, how to build their business and create kind of, a more successful business, right? And I would imagine that you're teaching them how to be a business owner rather than just an employee inside of that business, right? So you're kind of saying, hey, it's really easy to kind of build this thing and make it so you can have more time off and stuff. But do you think there was kind of an element of you that didn't feel congruent because you're like, I've had the gym and, yes, I created that freedom, but it still wasn't right for me. It still didn't give me that full, true freedom to be able to go and do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Do you know why I done it? Because I was a success at it, and I knew that I could show other people how to be a success. But it also dawned on me that the thing that made me a success was the thing that also made me miserable. And I was thinking, I don't want to make other people miserable at the extreme of making them a success. So I was like, I don't want to do this. So I want to create some sort of program, some sort of program where we can give them freedom, but also success, not tie them down to something. So that's kind of.
As you know, like my story is I've done the same thing and helped gym owners and studio owners effectively well. And I gave them success too, but that's why I stopped.
Right.
Part of the reason why I stopped, because, I could never somebody came to me and said, well, if it's so easy, why don't you do it?
Yeah, I know.
Right. So I was like, that's a great question, to be fair. If it's so easy, why don't you do it? I actually went and done it a second time, which we'll come to tomorrow. But no, I totally get that. It's not fully congruent. Even though you can help them and they're be in a much better position than they were, you kind of know deep down inside it's not really going to give them what they're truly after.
No.
Right? Because, let's say that you build a complete team out and you're not having to do any kind of work inside of the gym. You're still energetically attached and you cannot remove yourself energetically because you're still the person looking over the whole thing.
Definitely.
Right.
And
so
I think it's different as well because like from when you're a fit pro in your 20s, you think different to what you do in your 30s. And then when you're 30s, you think different to what you do in your 40s, but you're not prepared for this. So like when you're in your 20s, nobody could have told me as a young 20 plus year old fit pro that I'll ever get bored of like owning a gym. Like that was my dream. Like, what are you talking about? Like I'd love to own a gym. It was my dream for so many years. And then once I'd done it and I started to get older, had a family and the landscape changed, like my whole mindset changed around what I wanted. Like we were talking right at the start, right? Like how I would rather have a camper van than a Mercedes. And I was like, I was so jealous of you. Like I love the whole camper van. Like I would love one, seriously love one. So jealous. The things that you didn't used to want become the things that you now want as you get older, So yeah, we just change.
I think I think 100%, and I think it's through personal growth and kind of relating back to not doing actions that are driven by an ego.
Definitely.
Right. So ego wants, ego wants money, but it's more to show off the money and prove that you're a success and kind of be, hey, people, I'm amazing. Right. That's kind of ego driven stuff. But then, like you say, as you get into your 30s, you start to kind of let go of that and you start to do more work on yourself and you realize that, hey, that's not really what I want,
The 40s is even deeper.
Yeah, I bet. How old are you now?
45. No, I'm 40.
You're 40, as I say.
40. Yeah, 40.
Wow. Okay.
40 this year
cool.
in March. It hurt a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. My partner was 40 last year. Yeah,
It's
I've been ribbing her ever since.
mate, it's such a weird one because you, like, I can remember like my parents being 40, do you know, and turning up to their family, the family like party and thinking, wow, man, you're old. But now when you like you hit 40 yourself and you think, shit, it's like, am I old or was it not as old as what I thought it was back then? And I don't know. You reflect a lot. Like it's almost like it's weird. And without sounding too morbid, I think I've became acutely aware of my mortality. Do you know that like I'm not going to live forever? I'm like, I better start doing some shit.
Yeah.
You know, I better start enjoying life more. Instead of like trying to make loads of money, which is cool if you want some freedom and whatever, and that's nice, but forget the fancy cars, the big houses and the fancy holidays. Like, go live and go do your thing. That's kind of, yeah, it wakes you up.
I think you'll be able to relate to this. It's like I've had a big business too with massive overheads. So when you let go of a business like that with the overheads and the overheads are gone, right? It's like a huge weight off your shoulders, right? And you're like, oh my God, I don't have to create that much money every month ever again. I've actually concentrated on minimizing my overheads, rather than making them bigger. And because you soon find out that is the key, to minimize your overheads as much as you can, to create the biggest surplus that you can, right? And that will enable you to have the freedom, right?
Man, I can remember saying to Louise, I would rather be skint and not have all of these not have all of these massive overheads, like shelling out 10, 15K a month in rent and everything else, than having more money but having to pay all these things. It's like you're paying it, but there's also a lot of responsibility at the same time. Whereas our online businesses, do you know, they're the complete opposite. You don't have all those responsibilities. Is it tough? Yeah, absolutely. But you don't have all those responsibilities, and it's just like you couldn't pay me enough. We had this conversation last night at dinner. I'd said to Louise, I was like, how much would you need paid to open another gym again? She's like, there's not enough money in the world. and we were a success at it, you know? So like,
I know.
Wow. Crazy days. But hey, you live, you learn, right?
When I think this is great for the listeners to kind of think about is, when something is not in alignment spiritually with yourself, and if it's not in alignment, it's going to bloody well drain you very quickly, and you're not going to be feeling good day to day at all. If your work is not uplifting you, giving you energy, giving you inspiration, and making you feel like, don't get me wrong, you're not going to feel like that every day, but I mean, on the majority of the days, you're like, I'm really excited to get to work, and I'm excited to serve the people. This is like giving me like a life that I've always dreamed of. Then maybe it's time to make a decision, and start. But the thing is, I think me and you are very similar. Both of us are quite ballsy, right? And we're like, if we're not happy, we just change it. Like, we forget about the consequences. What's most important is that we're in alignment as people, and we're creating the life that is good for us, right? Definitely. We take, not saying that we're not what's the word, empathetic towards others because of our actions. It's just that, it's at the end of the day, you are the most important, right? Because if you're not happy, then you can never serve the people to your best anyway.
Totally, man. Right? I think I see a lot of people like when they build something. Like, I had a lot of people around me when we had the gym saying that, like, you've built this up so big, like, why would you leave it now? And the reason why I left it was because I wasn't scared. Like, I know I could go build another gym again tomorrow if I wanted, and build that up over the years. I could build any business up I wanted to if I put my mind to it. And I think it's one of those skills that you have as an entrepreneur, like what we said at the start of the conversation. It's either in you, it's not what you do, it's who you are. Like I know you'll be the same. I didn't choose to be an entrepreneur. Like, it chose me. Like, I can remember back, like, when I was a kid, like, cutting people's grass, like stealing my mum's lawnmower and, like, washing the windows and, all those things. Like, those were the start of entrepreneurship. And, we've all got stories like that. But for me, and I know you'll be the exact same, I can't breathe if I'm in a job. Like, my sister's a nurse. She goes to the hospital and she works 12-hour shifts. She gets a paycheck and she loves it. And that's fantastic. I don't diss her for that. It's congruent with who she is as a person and her values. That's hell to me. I'm like, wow, how can you do that? We're just different, right? We're all different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said earlier, there's just something about a business owner and entrepreneur, there's something that's kind of a different makeup in their blueprint as people.
We're a
You
different
know,
breed.
definitely 100%. And this is not knocking people who like to be employed and have that security. Whatever makes you happy, right? That's the important thing. If that's making you happy and that's in alignment with who you are, more power to you.
Totally
That's
agree.
great. But for people like me and you who are like, no, we need to go and we were change makers, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to go after what we love. Change agents is the word I was looking
Change
for then, not
agents.
change. Yeah.
We need to wear a suit. I've got like a vision of like the Men in Black guys.
Yeah, that's me and you. Maybe that's the podcast. That's the podcast cover for this episode.
Love
Me
it.
and you with glasses on. Yeah. Okay. So okay, cool. So look, we're going to come to the end of this podcast, I think, because we could talk about this all day. So let's talk about your current kind of venture, what you're doing right now, and kind of who are you looking to bring in to help right now? Like, who would be your ideal person that you would look after, and what would you do for them?
Fit Bosses Elite. It's the place to be. What we do at Fit Bosses Elite, like it's really simple. We probably give too much. Like Louise is always telling me to pull back a little bit. I'm too much of a giver. She's like, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, I just give people my soul. But basically, what we do, mate, is we're showing PTs and health coaches and nutritionists how to grow their online business the right way. So what we tend to see happen, and this was me when I first started in the industry, is they're trying to build this metaphorical house, but they haven't got the foundations built. And the house falls down and they wonder why. So it's literally starting from the deep-rooted foundations so that we can focus on the doors and the wallpaper and the decor and everything afterwards. That's all external, second stuff. But first it starts at the foundations. There's a difference, and this is something we teach our coaches, there's a difference between being an online PT and an online coach. Huge difference. One's doing PT sessions, the other one's changing lives. And it's a massive shift that we get our coaches, our clients to realize that, do you want to be known for something where you can change people's lives, or do you just want to get them in shape? Like, which is it? Get them in shape can be part of it. It's the nuts and bolts. But to change their lives, something completely different, So like our clients range from people who, one of our client, her whole market is people who suffer with endometriosis. Another guy, Eric, is in Canada. He all his clients are people who suffer Lyme disease. Another guy, James, all his clients, he focuses on getting people out of pain. And his tagline is, I get people out of pain, which is cool as hell. So like they're all personal trainers by trade, but they've all specialized into a different area. So they focus on a specific niche, which then means that they can create a leveraged system that they can scale. We can't scale this system that's not leveraged. So that's essentially what we show our clients how to do.
So they create their own little niche, and then they become the authority of that little niche.
It's exactly
because it's their own. Yeah, I got you.
Exactly, cool. Man. Yeah. When they get to that point, they're speaking a very specific language. So like if we take Eric as an example, his language and his copy that he's writing, his organic posts, his paid ads, or anything in between, it's all related to the people who suffer Lyme disease. It's not the guy down the road that wants to lose weight and doesn't know anything about it. It's speaking to a very specific audience. And what it means is it repels the people who are not interested in that. So it's laser focused. So that's the kind of where we go with it. We go deep with that.
That's awesome. I think that what you do is very similar to what I do, and it's very much needed right now, because I find that there is so much emphasis on all the shiny stuff, like funnels and webinars and membership areas and Facebook ads and all this kind of stuff, when really that doesn't really matter if you haven't got your foundations in, and you don't know what your niche is, and you don't know what your avatar is, and you don't know what your pitch is, and you don't know what your messaging is, right? And if you haven't got that nailed in, which are basics, then it doesn't matter how good your click funnel is, if that makes sense, right? Because it's not going to convert.
It's totally right. I feel like the problems are right at the foundations. Who do you serve? Like when I speak to Fit Pros every day, and my first question to them usually is, so who do you serve? and they don't know, and that's not blame on their part, but it's their problem. Do you know, it's not their fault, but it's their problem. So it's like, well, shit, dude, you need to do something about that, because if you don't know who you're talking to, you're going to struggle, because you're just a PT in a big field of PTs. You don't differ from anybody. So it's all about standing out. When we do this scrolling thing every day and we talk about this pattern interrupt, do you know what makes you stand out? That's the focus. How can you stand out?
Yeah, for sure. This kind of reminds me of something that I used to repeat to fitness professionals all the time, is that imagine your business as like a wheel. Mm-hmm. Now, half of your business is qualifications, your ability to get results, right? It's so important, and kind of understanding all of that kind of, exercise, nutrition. Mm. But the other half is just your sales, your marketing, your lead generation, your messaging, all that kind of stuff. So for you to have a complete wheel, you need all of it, right? But there's so many fit pros who are kind of locked in this idea that they need to learn more. I need to be more educated. I need to go on more qualifications. I need to do this course before, and then I'll make more money, right? Yeah. And it's so opposite of the truth. I'll tell you a really quick story, kind of to back this up. When I worked in a gym, I kind of I rented a small space in this gym and done my group training program. Now, I'm just a level 3 PT. I've got a circuits qualification. That's all I've got. I've got nothing else, right? And but I spent a year kind of, I took on a mentor. I learned sales, I learned marketing, I learned all that kind of stuff. And, I started selling packages for like £1,000 plus.
Yeah.
Right. And we made a lot of money very, very quickly. And there was other PTs in the gym, kind of the other side of this wall that was created, this partition, who were kind of like level 4. I think you can get level 5 PTs now, right? And they had all the qualifications in the world, but they all of them had like 1 or 2 clients a day max, and I can remember them kind of just like looking at what I was doing, and kind of like none of them ever came and asked any questions, which I think was crazy, right? But like,
dude, I would have been stalking you. I would have been stalking you. Dude, teach me.
Well, I wouldn't have minded. I would have helped. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying they could not work it out, right? And it made me came to realize that, it's almost, I don't know. There's something about the industry where they almost feel like it's wrong to learn about sales, for example, right? And it's like, oh no, I can't do. I don't want to be. Oh, I can remember the owner of the gym where I had this thing. I said to him, he said to me, he actually asked me a question. He said, "What is the biggest thing that you've learned to go and do this? What you've done?" And I said, "Learn sales."
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh no, I don't want to learn sales." Like, oh no,
that guy.
not for me. Do you know what I mean?
I was that guy.
And oh no. So,
Mate, do you know that with our clients, as an example, because this was me, I was that guy as well. I think we all have been, right? We don't teach our clients to do sales calls. Well, here's the first thing, even before that. They don't do sales, they close. And the difference is because people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And it's also better to receive than it is to beg. So we focus on people who want to buy, not that need to be sold. So we close 100%. Them. We don't sell them. But the other side of that as well is that, like, if you're just trying to sell to somebody all the time, it's not going to work. So we don't go into sales calls, we go into care calls. Our clients, so when we say to our clients, how many care calls have you had this week? They're going on to genuinely make an impact and care about people. It's not a sales call. Money will exchange hands for sure, but that's the byproduct. Yeah. And I think when PTs have this in their mind and they're like, oh, I need to ask people for money. The point where it comes to the money and at the end, and like, it's £1,000, please. That part? And they don't want to say to them how much it is.
It's the kind of connection they've got to the word sales. So you've done the right thing and you've changed the words, and the word creates a different connection to how they feel about it. Right? So I don't have a negative attachment to the word sales. I don't, but I know some people will. So creating a new name for it, I think is a very savvy idea, and I like that. because it builds a whole new relationship with kind of, you know, enrolling people onto your program, right? So yeah, I totally get that.
It changed
Okay,
the game
cool.
for us.
So I feel like, although we've been through, I feel like we've only scraped the surface on your journey today, I must admit.
Well, we're back
I think there's
tomorrow.
yeah, we're gonna do my side of the story tomorrow and go through. But I'll be honest, there's so many similarities to
Totally.
what you've been through for sure. But I'm excited to share my story. So do what? So let's say that someone's listened to this right now and they're like, they want to kind of learn more about how you help fit pros, and they want to kind of get involved in what you do. What's the best way for them to do that?
Easiest way is Facebook. The reason being is because the majority of people that we speak to on a daily basis come from Facebook. So do we have funnels? Yes. Do we have a website? No, because we don't need one. Do we have emails and everything? Yes. The easiest way to get in touch with us, go to Robert McVie on Facebook, my personal profile. You'll find me there. We all know that fan pages these days are completely dead. They're on their ass unless you're paying for paid advertising. So you want to catch up, you want to shoot me a message, Robert McVie on Facebook, and we can have a blether. Easiest place to find me.
Awesome, great, cool. So yeah, dude. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to host your first ever podcast. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I hope you've got to know Robert a little bit more. I certainly have. There's certain things that I didn't know about you, dude, that I found out today. So yeah, dude. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to doing this again tomorrow and getting the next episode in.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm going to see you more in the next 2 days than I will my wife, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Awesome, man. Right, dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.